After a brief hiatus, we are back. It is the On the Mic podcast, and you wouldn't have to go too far back in the archives. Just about 6 episodes ago, we were on here and we were predicting and talking about the future, and she is now in the PFL finals, the championship. She'll take on Kayla Harrison. She is the one and only Taylor Guardado. Taylor, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very good. And, kind of just talking about where we were conversation-wise going back to, a month ago. We were talking and you were like, I don't want to look past anybody. I'm focused on right here, right now. I'm just happy to be back. Well, like you did it, right? You did everything that you set out to do. And now you're in the finals. A little bit of a whirlwind there, with your opponent missing weight. But what was that whole experience like for you?
Overall, I mean, I can't complain at all about anything with PFL. Like they've done nothing but been amazing throughout this entire process. But my own personal week that week was just kind of stressful. And then the last minute opponent change kind of threw me off as well. But I mean, like it is what it is. You adjust. Your opponent's never set until you set into the cage. So I mean, like it is what it is.
Now, obviously, that's something that we see a lot of fighters going through opponent changes, last minute changes. But like this is a huge deal for you. We talk about like that moment, what it was like talking with your team, your coaches, you're having your inner conversation. Like there's a chance at $1 million on the line. Now you still have to go win the finals to get it, but like to become champion, to win $1 million, to do everything that you set out when you started this season. And right before you get the biggest opportunity, you have this opponent change. What was that like?
I was focused on Larissa, and I was very, prepared to fight Larissa mentally. And then, obviously the last second, I got the word that she wasn't going to be fighting because of the weight missing. But at the time I was just kind of like frazzled a little bit, that's the best word I can think of, like I kind of was just overwhelmed, I guess. I called my coaches that were, up in their own rooms as well. And I was like, we need to talk right away. And we went over everything and just went over some changes that we had to make to the game plan and everything like that. But I mean, like it worked. We came out on top. It wasn't my best performance, but I mean, like still won.
I mean, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to ask. Isn't that almost in a sense kind of what you want? Like we haven't even seen your best performance yet. You have this big fight obviously coming up. Obviously, Kayla Harrison, I have a few questions about her as everybody does. But when you have that opportunity or when you say this wasn't my best performance, but you got into the championship, I have to believe that should excite fans of you and everyone around you.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I definitely haven't shown so what I'm capable of. And it was kind of my own mental block that was preventing me from really living up to my full potential that I think that I'm able to, show everyone. But going into this next fight, I'm going to be the most prepared I've ever been in my entire life. You have to be to face Kayla. But I think that I'm going to be ready. Like I have no fear going into this. I'm in the best fight of my life, and I'm going to prepare the best that I can. I have all of my coaches all in with me. All of my teammates are all in with me, and I know what I need to do, and I know what needs to be done. Yeah, I'm just ready, man. I'm excited.
I got to say, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, the first time we spoke, and I want to share this if you don't mind, we texted afterwards, and you said it felt like you're talking to a long-lost friend. And that meant a lot to me. But that conversation at first, like, it was just exciting for me to hear you get excited about being in this opportunity and having this, but now you just sound so focused. Not that you weren't focused in the past, but like now you see like what's in front of you. Now it feels like when you told me this Taylor would destroy old Taylor and why you're back and fighting, like I feel it now. I just don't hear it. Like I feel it, and I got to give you all the credit in the world for that. Was it getting to this moment? Was it something that happened in this past fight? Was it knowing your best is yet to come? Where did everything turn?
I think my coaches really how do I put this nicely? Like they drilled into me, hey, you have to know how really good you are You have to stop doubting yourself, and know what you're capable of, because you've made it to the fucking finals, and they were like, you won. You very clearly won all of your fights. You need to start believing in yourself. And I don't know what switched after this last fight, but my confidence is pretty high right now. And I think it's the work that we've already put in and the work that we're going to be putting in for this camp is leaving me with a good head on my shoulders.
You talked about your team and your coaches. I seen, social media posts, not just from you, but a few of the women down there in Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. Taylor, excuse my French, holy shit, what a team you have there. I mean, we all knew that from the beginning, but recently, the amount of killers that you're training with, the amount of people that you're, and you being one of them at the top of your game right now, how amazing is this training room right now for you?
You know what? It's full of hungry, just animals, like men or women. It doesn't matter who's in there, but we all have very similar goals, and we're all willing to push each other to our limits to meet those goals, or help whoever needs to be pushed at the time to meet their goal. And just being surrounded by strong women who just won't take shit from anyone is just such a, it's motivation. It is. It's being around like all these women and just knowing that we can all make it, and we probably are going to all make it. We've made it.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you've made it. You've definitely made it.
Yeah.
But to that, I think you remember, I had asked you about coming back and fighting as a mom, and you have a few of those, and when you see that part and you see everyone's obtaining their goals, but everyone's fighting for a greater purpose. I know how close-knit that gym is. I do send my condolences to your team for the passing of your teammate. I know that was really hard for all of you guys, but I also know how your entire coaching staff, especially Coach Eric Nixick, who I always have to mention every chance I can, how he brings everyone together. So how much, and you talk about everyone's there, everyone's made it, but how much more better is it to have everyone unite as a team and as a family? I think often these big gyms, they have their high level superstars, and then they've got the young ones. Not to say that everyone's always together, but to have everyone thriving all together at the same time, it's very rare. What has that done for you leading up to this?
It's nothing short of motivation. It tells me what I can work towards. I have Francis Ngannou here, who's hanging out and training with all of us, and I have Misha Tate here, who's training with all of us. And it's like, those people have done things that I want to do, and that goes for all of our team. We're seeing all of these people who are just literally accomplishing everything that they're setting out to do, and it's motivation. You don't want to be the one to fail. And I think that makes a huge difference. Is I don't want to waste my coach's time. I don't want to waste anyone's time. So I don't want to fail, and I won't fail.
And you obviously don't want to waste your own time. I mean, the goal is right here, and it's October 27th. You'll be taking on Kayla Harrison. And this is my interview with you. So this isn't going to all be about Kayla or your, past opponents. But I do have to ask, you did just mention someone, and I feel like you can't say Kayla in combat sports without mentioning Ronda, someone you've had a fight against. You can't say Ronda without saying your teammate, Misha. During these times of training, have you had any conversations with Misha about where you are as a fighter and kind of how you've gotten here in this journey?
A little bit here and there, but for the most part, we're both just focused on our own tasks, because she fights, I think, about 10 days ahead of me, or 12 days ahead of me, or something like that. So she's very focused on her own task, and I'm very focused on mine. But, like when we are around each other, we're very, very friendly with each other, and both just extremely excited for each other. We have great opportunities, and we're looking to crush everyone in our path. I think I'm most excited for out of any fighter for the rest of this year. There's some exciting matchups across multiple promotions, but you have someone, and this is no disrespect to her at all, that literally we've heard this story before. We've seen it play out before. Kayla Harrison, she's undefeated. She can't be beat. And there's something about her swagger, her persona, that some may think is cocky, but others would just say it's confidence. When you see the way she's come through PFL, and then you look at your own journey,
What do you see of Kayla, not just the fighter, but Kayla the woman, and how she's going about this?
I'm so sorry. There were people talking really loud right behind
No,
me.
you're fine.
That one more
Just
time.
more of like how Kayla has conducted herself during her run with the PFL, and how she's been perceived. So she's been perceived as she can't be beat, and she's conducted herself like, I've told you this is all gonna happen. And to go back to how it started this year, she said she's the queen and this is a coronation, not a tournament. I think you would beg to differ on that. I don't think you're crowning anyone else besides yourself. What do you make of how she's gone about this journey to get to this fight with you?
She can back up everything that she said so far, but when it comes down to it, anyone can lose and anyone's beatable.
Perfectly said. So having that experience with a Ronda Rousey and having just these two mentioned in the same breath of every sentence throughout combat sports, does that kind of like give you even more motivation? Like I've been there, done that. Maybe it didn't go my way, but look where I am, and I'm so much better now. Basically, my question is: do you feel like you are the best challenger that can dethrone Kayla Harrison?
I am. I mean, I'm in the finals for a reason. So yeah, I 100% believe that I'm the person that's gonna beat her.
What are the things? Obviously, we know where she's good at. We know what she's great at. We know where she trains out of. But what are the things for you? Not necessarily from a X's and O's game plan, but what are the things for you that you're focused on about Kayla? Or is this more just Taylor's worried about Taylor and Taylor's going to go perform at her absolute best come fight night?
I think it comes down to both. I have to absolutely be my best for that fight, but at the same time, she has some things that she tends to do every fight. And as long as I'm prepared and smart and show no fear, which I don't plan on doing because I'm not afraid of anyone, I think things should go pretty well and go my way.
Now, we had talked about, I had asked you like, hey, what does $1 million do for you? What does becoming champion do? And, you didn't want to look too far ahead, which I give you all the credit in the world for. But now, like, it is here. Now, like, you can get that major, no disrespect to that major upset, because everyone just expects Kayla to walk in and walk out in every single fight. So you would just beat her. You would win $1 million. You would win a title, a title that you've earned. Mm-hmm. With all that, like, this couldn't have been written any better for you.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, that obviously bills, I need to cover a bunch of bills with $1 million. But I mean, like, overall, I just want to make sure my family's set up and my son is set up for his life. You know what I mean? For college and stuff like that. But the money's great, but I don't know. Like, how do I explain it? Like, I'm definitely excited to win the money, but I mean, like, when it comes down to it, I'm also just chasing legacy, like, and I think being the first person to dethrone Kayla would be pretty cool.
I would think so too. And I think there would be a lot more eyes on you, but I think why not have the eyes now, right? Like, and everyone has slept on you throughout the tournament. And it's like, at some point you've got to wake up, look at your record, look at everything you've done throughout your career from before and recent, and be like, oh, this is no walking slouch. Like, she's actually worked her ass off to get to this point. And so I think she deserves a spot in this championship fight. For you, and we did talk about this. We talked about how getting a championship and adding to your legacy as a mother, it's such a big message to your families, to your little one. But then kind of adding in that extra motivation of beating Kayla is you can literally beat anybody in front of you and any challenge that's sent your way.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, anyone can lose. Anyone can be beaten, regardless of whatever she's saying. Like, anyone can lose. It is what it is, But I don't know. Like, for me personally, like, just being able to do what I've always set out to do, what 18-year-old Taylor set out to do, which is, win that world title wherever it is. That's the biggest thing for me, like, hold on, I gotta close the door. They're being so loud.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Yeah. So, like, being able to set up my own legacy, but really just I want to follow up with what 18-year-old Taylor set out to do, which was win the world title and show how great I know I am. And I think that I'm just starting to do that, and I'm just peeling back those layers. But like going into every fight, I've always thought of myself as an underdog, no matter what the odds. I don't even look at the odds. I never know odds until someone tells me what the odds are, and then I'm like, oh, cool. But yeah, but for the most part, I've always known I'm an underdog in every fight, especially this one. I know I'm going to be a huge underdog, which I don't care about. Again, odds aren't the fight. Like odds are odds, but like it's never set in stone. So.
Yeah, and they're also not even. So it doesn't, like, you know what I mean? When you get into the cage, eventually at one point in a fight, you will be even. Like that's literally how a fight goes. But I just get kind of sentimental here. What would Taylor right now, if I hung up this Zoom call and or I disappeared and 18-year-old Taylor walked onto the other side of this Zoom interview, what would Taylor right now say to that 18-year-old Taylor?
You know what? I would just probably tell myself, just to be happy and keep doing what she's doing, because like I wouldn't have changed any part of my journey. You know, like I met my husband, I got to take time off, I had my kid, I traveled a lot, you know, I've always been training, but I think I'm better, tenfold better than what I was as an amateur. So, I mean, like I just tell her to just keep doing what she's doing and really enjoy her 20s.
Well, well, I can't wait to have that and ask you that same question after this fight. Because I'm sure there will be a lot deeper answer once everything goes how you know, and your team expects everything to go for you. But looking at everything, when you talk about your amateur career and talk about everything that you've gone through, and you've taken a path that's least traveled. It really is, not just among fighters, among women. To leave a job, to leave a passion, a career, to leave everything, start a family, and then get back into it. And then, oh, by the way, there's like 1% of people in this world who do what you do. Yeah, and it involves violence inside a cage. All of that, like, do you ever just look at this and go, like, I had to go my pace. I had to go my way. And it's not all about, like, you're in a gym every day. You see fighters who are young and run up the ladder and they slip and they fall. Other people take your path and they move at their own pace. Would that be your same advice to younger fighters or people around you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't go with the pace that I wanted to. Like when it comes down to it, I wish I would have, you know, been just fighting and training the entire time. But you know, I did have injuries, and then, you know, obviously I've no regrets with my son or anything like that. But everyone slips, everyone falls. I lost my pro debut technically, you know, so I mean, like, I see a lot of people that lose their pro debut that go on to win a ton of fights after that and be very dominant. But I mean, like, you just got to trust the journey, because it generally, so at the funeral service yesterday, Eric had mentioned Kyle's birth date and his death date, and then the little dash in between the death date and the birth date. And he said something along the lines of how that's what counts. It's not those two dates, it's that dash that makes everything. So I think when it comes down to, even for fighters, that journey, you know, the journey to get to where they want to be is the most important part. Getting there, and once you get there, cool, but like that journey that leads up to it is all happening for a reason, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, and I think that needed to be said. I could say on a personal level, that's something I think I needed to hear. So thank you for sharing that. I do want to give you a moment to kind of talk about your teammate, but I also want to ask, kind of on a lighter note first. You know, you would be taking over, especially on the women's side of PFL. And I know Kayla has made some comments like, "Hey, like life-changing money, like things are gonna need to happen in order for me to resign." Well, I think, you know, if you go in there and do the job that you expect to do, they got to look at the champ, right? They got to look at the champion. They got to look at Taylor. They got to look at as having you. Have you, again, not to look past Kayla, but have you kind of ever once thought about like that spotlight being shined on you?
Yeah, I have. I have all of my teammates are very, very good at motivating me and telling me that, oh, you're going to be the future champ. You know, you got to get used to being the famous person. And I'm like, I'm not good at being famous. I don't like the limelight at all. But at the same time, you have to stop and think that that could happen. And, I'm nothing in my day-to-day life is going to change when I win, everything's going to be the same. I'm going to go home. I'm going to take care of my kid. I'm going to love my husband, I'm going to train every day. I'm still going to work at the gym. Like, I love working here. I work here. I'm here all the time. So It's not like I'm going to leave. But as far as like, I'll probably get like more media and stuff like that. But other than that, nothing's going to change in my own life. Like, I refuse to be that guy,
I just hope you don't forget us little interviewers and media people. Like, I still want to get a spot at the table when everything goes your way. Because I truly enjoy all of our conversations, and I do think that they are needed to be heard for people inside the sport, outside the sport. And with that, I kind of just want to give you this moment to kind of, if you want to reflect on your, fallen teammate. And I know that it's always hard to lose anyone that's on your team, that's friend. But like, if I know anything about Extreme Couture, like, very few gyms can say they're family. And I knew the moment I met Coach Nixick, like, you guys have a family there. And that goes for every coach and every fighter. Just kind of reflect if you would like.
Yeah. We lost Kyle Reyes. He was like everyone's brother. It was, he would help anyone who asked for help. I don't know. He had his daughter with, he's such a good dad and such a good just human in general. Like, he's so rare, and it wasn't fair, and I'm not going to say that I was like the closest with him or anything like that, but I saw him every day. And he was always just a light. He came into the room and he was laughing at something, or just like, and his laugh is so loud. It's so loud. It was just so, you knew he was laughing because it was just like, you could hear it across the gym. But he was the good one, he was the good one. And it's a huge loss for our family, and his family, especially his daughters, which, I don't know. It's just it's hard to still talk about, but we weren't super close again, but like, we were close enough to give each other a hug every time we saw each other. And he's such a good hype man. He would always hype me up all the time after every fight. Just like, he's I don't know. He was great.
I appreciate you sharing that. With that, to kind of put a positive light on it, I've kind of just talked about how it all felt like family, but how much better is that for you, Taylor? Like, your gym is literally like family. Like, there's, and I don't know everything. So if I'm wrong, sorry if I'm wrong, but if people aren't pit against each other, there's no like hatred from anyone. Like, you're literally saying Francis Ngannou is alongside training with you. Like, it just feels like, leave your ego at the door, leave your status at the door. We're all here for one goal, one team, and that becomes one family. So what does that mean to you to be a part of that? You work there, like, you literally work there. So it's literally your family. Yeah, no, I mean,
you have to be humble to step on our mats. Like, you have to be a humble person. Otherwise you're going to get beat up or something. But you like, at the end of almost every Monday practice, Eric has us take a knee. And he just gives us usually some type of speech, whether it's motivating or whether it's an anger speech, like we've been messing up something. But it feels like, the ringleader, or I, like, some of us call him Dad all the time, Papa, but our Big Papa is, he's talking to us, and he's telling us, hey, I believe in all of you. Go out there and do what you can do. And he's like, that's why he's so hard on us. At every practice, he's hard on us. He's yelling, he's encouraging, he's motivating. That goes for all of our coaches: Dennis, Eddie, Nate, Ray Sefo, all of them. All of them are all on our butts. And they're like that because they care about us. And I've been to a couple gyms before, and I've never felt it like this. And I don't plan on leaving this place anytime soon.
Well, I don't think they want you to go anywhere. I think you've got a belt to bring back to that gym, Taylor. And just a few more here for you, and I really appreciate your time tonight. If you remember the last time we talked, you talked about the conversation that was had between your team, and they said, Taylor, you can do this. So like, let's let's get it going because you can do this.
Mhm.
Do you believe him now, Taylor?
I mean, I have to at this point. Yeah, after my second fight, they told me, or they pulled me up to them. They always do it. If you come into the gym after you win, they congratulate you in front of the whole team and all that stuff. And it's nice to get cheers and stuff. But like Ray was there, and he was like, hey, he stood up and he was like, hey, I want you all to know. He's like, you have to be ready for opportunities. He's like, because big opportunities can knock at your door anytime. And he used me as an example. He's like, Taylor wasn't even supposed to be in the tournament, and she was a last minute like fill in. He's like, and she's going to the finals. He's like, just be ready. He's like, you have to be ready and you have to be willing. And he's like, you just got to be prepared. So just be ready at all times, be training at all times. And I was always training. So it's nice. I don't know. It's just really nice.
No, and I love it. And I kind of want to ask you just mentioned it, like you were a last minute fill-in, and then you made it to the finals by defeating a last minute fill-in. Like,
Mhm.
Isn't this a kind of just believe in yourself and never turn down an opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you there's always going to be a million reasons why not to do something. But like, if you have one good reason to do something, I think you should do it.
That's beautifully said. And we really quickly, you talked about not being in the limelight, you don't want to be this big superstar. Like before you like go through all that, I gotta let you know, like you kind of did it to yourself. You got Coach Eric pouring beer on you. You're going out and you're winning fights that people are overlooking you for. Like this is kind of what you kind of set up for yourself. Like you can't be so good.
No, I
You
did
can't be
nothing.
so good and not expect any like attention. Like this is kind of what you get now. You went in, you did the damn thing, and obviously it's not all done yet, but you've done the damn thing so far, and this is what you get.
That's true. Yeah, that's true to a point. Like, but when it comes down to it, my job is, to fight and to win, and that's what I'm best at. So I'm gonna keep trying to do that.
No, I want to end it on a light, funny note because we are talking on a Thursday. It's opening night for the NFL season, and I know sometimes the sports don't mix. I talk to some fighters, have no idea who certain like high level athletes are, and I know Coach Nixick has trained some NFL guys. This is, we're still going through the pandemic, but like tonight we have fans in Tampa Bay for the opening. Like, are you letting Las Vegas Raiders know, like, yo, the champ is coming? Like, by the time at some point this season, I'm coming with the belt.
You know what? I'm the worst niece. Like, rest in peace, my uncles, because they all played for the NFL, but I don't watch football like at all. Like, in the slightest bit, I don't care. Like, it's terrible for me to say, and I'm gonna catch some shit for it, I'm sure. But like, I'm just not a huge football fan. Like, I'll go to a game and I'll go watch it, but it's fine.
Just it's not you, and that's fine. I will say it's starting to set up a little ironically because you and I, for some reason, we always get matched up for interviews on some big sports night. Last time it was the NBA Finals. Today it's opening night in the NFL season. So if there's another big sporting event and it's not your fight, I'm sure we'll be talking.
Yeah, 100%.
What would, to kind of put a bow on all of this, what does this all mean to you right now? That yes, look, I've done it. I've gotten to this point. I listened to my team even, when I wasn't sure. And, I've gotten back into this, but like, again, no disrespect, but like the job's not done. And sometimes I'm sure you could pick one off the top of your head. A fighter has gotten to where you're at and they think everything's gravy. And then they realize like, no, it's not. And they don't get the job done. What's not going to throw you off? What's going to keep you so focused? Because I know you're going to physically be trained and ready and all of that. And I'm not saying there's a weakness in your mental game, but I think once you're at this point, the mentality and the thought process and the way you go about all of this is just as important as the way you train inside the gym. So what's going to keep you kind of locked in and focused on what needs to get done here in October?
No, I'm fully focused. There's literally nothing on my mind for the next 6.5 weeks right now. Yeah, like my coaches aren't giving me any space to think about many other things. My husband's taking over like all the daddy duties and house duties and stuff like that. my full focus is literally October 27th and performing the way I need to perform.
I don't expect you and Kayla to go like back and forth, but like the way she kind of speaks sometimes, does it make you want to speak up if anything's said before your fight?
No, she earned her right to talk her shit. But and it's not that I don't think that I have, I'm just not good at it. So like, I don't even know if I would ever do that. Like,
well, Taylor, I'm so happy for you. And it's never about me, but outside of your team, your family, and your friends, you know, I can openly and admit to you that I was jumping for joy and going pretty damn crazy watching you in that fight. And obviously when your hand got raised. So I think I told you after we spoke the first time that sometimes I don't look at you all as just professional fighters or professional athletes. Some of you I care about on the other side. And, you know, some of the stuff you and I talked about and how you just shared with me about Kyle Reyes and the family that you have down there, it just means so much to me to have the opportunity to talk to you about all of this. So it's right there. I know the destination isn't over until your hand gets raised in October, but I think you're setting yourself up for a special night on that October night. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for your team. And I know how much this means to you. So I guess before I let you go, I will just say, like, if you haven't heard of Taylor, and I think I said this last time, it's time to start paying attention because you pretty much proved why people shouldn't be sleeping on you.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Well, it's also true. So Taylor, we will see you October 27th against Kayla Harrison. Wish all the best to you, your team, and your family. And can't wait to see you in there for the PFL championship.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.